What's up, everybody? Episode 5 of the Healthy Living Podcast. I'm with my boy Jaquez. How you doing, bro?
Doing good, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. So, for everyone who doesn't know, just let them know who you are and your backstory.
My name's Jaquez Kalili. Um, Pretty much my backstory is played 2 years of high school football, a year here, a year in Texas. I transferred when I transferred here from Texas. I wasn't eligible through the NCAA clearinghouse, so pretty much I took a whole senior load and a whole junior load in one semester in order to be eligible for the NCAA clearinghouse. And then I really didn't become eligible until the day of my graduation. So that cost me a lot of opportunities to get a scholarship, to go to a Division I school because I played running back initially. I led the state in rushing yards, touchdowns, like if you name it, I probably did it that year.
Yeah.
And so what ended up happening, I got a personal trainer. This one personal training was, I guess, fairly becoming new, where kids, and then he ended up putting me in touch with the recruiting director for the University of Arizona, who is now the defensive back coach for the University of Georgia, Coach Jalil Adai. And I ended up walking on to Arizona. I spent the year there, got homesick. And then for those who don't know, when you go from a Division I school to a junior college, you have to earn your associate's degree before you can go back to a Division I school. So I ended up taking 3 semesters. I did 3 semesters. Well, yeah, 3 semesters in junior college where I took 22 credits. I was trying to get in and get out, about my business. So I didn't play my first initial year. I took 22 credits in the summer, 22 credits my first year there, 22 credits during the season in order to transfer to UNLV. I met Coach Sanchez at my junior college. He actually came there and told me that there was no room, because they had a lot of great backs at UNLV, and I was playing running back in junior college. And then so what ended up happening was my defensive back coach, the defensive back coach my junior year at UNLV, Coach David Lockwood, he was actually the defensive back coach at the University of Arizona at the time. But Coach Rich Rodriguez wouldn't let me switch positions, so it ended up working out that way. So I ended up walking on to the University of Nevada, Las Vegas my junior year. Ended up starting after like the third game. I got hurt after that. I want to say the 8th game of the season. I actually pinched a nerve in my shoulder, and that ended my season. But I was like, I think top 20 in the nation for forced fumbles, and I was like having a pretty good year that year. And then come around my senior year, I have a really good year. I don't end up getting drafted. I end up going to a mini camp with the Indianapolis Colts my first week. I mean, not the Indianapolis Colts, the Kansas City Chiefs my first week. I didn't make the team, and then the week right after that, I had the opportunity to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I ended up being with them for training camp, mini camp, training camp, pretty much all the way up to the first preseason game. I got cut right before we ended up going to Baltimore, and then I had to try out with the Washington Redskins later that week. Didn't get it, and then end up on the Green Bay Packers my last week, right before the last preseason game. I had a great preseason game, but obviously, when you're only there a week, you really can't make that big of an impact, and then it just costs you opportunities, So, I mean, life goes on, and then I pretty much waited a whole year, just waiting, just I trained hard the whole year, just waiting on your opportunity, and then time just passed, And then eventually I ended up getting a call from the CFL, these CFL teams. At the time, I didn't even know like what the CFL was, And then I was kind of like just pushing it to the side. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna end up in NFL. But football, at the end of the day, like when you get an opportunity to play football, so I finally caved in, ended up signing with the Ottawa Red Blacks, and then right before training camp was supposed to start, pretty much. Can I still be seen?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah. You're good.
Hello?
Yeah, you're good. Can you hear me?
Hello? Hello?
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then pretty much I ended up signing with them. I was training, getting ready for the CFL, and then COVID happened.
Hmm.
And so that canceled the whole season. So I was just like, you know what? Like I'm really gonna lock in. I'm gonna hit it hard. Like, and it's probably like the hardest and the most. I wouldn't say the most. Well, it's probably the most committed I've been to training, due to the fact that we didn't have anything else to do.
Yeah.
So I trained a whole year, getting ready to go to the CFL, and finally, when the time came around, we had to quarantine for a couple of days, and then we went training camp, and then we pretty much had like, I think it was like 20 something straight days of practice. But
Yeah.
after the 10th day of practice, pretty much I got cut. And it was, it was a reality check to me because like I didn't, I didn't, you never think it's gonna be and you never know, especially like when you feel like you do everything right and you put your best foot forward and you put yourself in the best opportunity to make something happen for yourself. And then like when that happens, it kind of just change your perspective on, like this is real life. And then I mean, that was my whole football backstory, and now I'm getting into the real world and I plan on opening up a business, studio salons with me and my girl. I don't know how I end up going from football to, beauty, but that's how life happens.
Are you still training in case that opportunity comes, or?
I'm training for more so of my mental health,
Mhm.
because it's just something you do, like I love to train and I love to, I love to feel fit about myself and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, if it does come, it would just be something that I would really have to think about, you know. Like I'm gonna be in shape. I'm still gonna be fast. I'm still gonna be strong. But it's just something that I really just have to think about because it puts such a when you wanna hold on, give me 1 second. I think let's give a pause to. Oh yeah, so I mean, like I said, I'm gonna continue. I've been training, just a part of who I am and what I do, but you just it just takes it's such a mental exhaust on yourself, like when
Yeah.
you a lot of people, like for me being up in there and seeing what I seen, like a lot of guys, who people think like, oh, like they show it on social media, like, oh, like they busting their tail and they doing this and doing that. There be a lot of guys who really not committed to it. You know what I mean? Like when I'm locked in, like, I'm not the type any one of my coaches, anybody who know me know, like when I'm locked in, like I'm locked in. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't party, I don't go out, I don't do none of that. Like I'm locked in on what I'm doing. So for me, like when that type of thing happened, like it takes such a mental exhaust on me because I've always felt like I was never the biggest, the fastest, the strongest, in whatever case it may be. So I feel like, like my dad always told me, like, if you want to do something, like just be 100% committed to it and make sure you do everything right. That way, can't nobody tell you no. And so if something like that does happen, you put your best foot forward.
Right.
So when it's time for you to walk away, like you gave 110% and you don't want to be dwelling yourself like, oh, I should have trained harder. Oh, I shouldn't have went out. Oh, I shouldn't have did that. You won't have those excuses. So for me, like, it's fine. Like I came to reality with it, and it's just like I know I put my best foot forward, and I know I did everything that I could possibly do to give myself an opportunity to play football on a professional level.
Yeah, well, I like I said when I first hit you up, I watched your documentary, your like 6-part documentary,
Mm-hmm.
going through that process, and it was actually like a really humbling experience to even watch,
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm a Vegas kid. My dad coached at Las Vegas High School, and so I know, like, I've been around Vegas football for a long time, and so like I kind of always knew of you, because my dad was a coach, so we always knew of you. And then as I watched that documentary and the coaches and everything like that, it was just really humbling. And then because JUCO is no joke. Like some people think Last Chance U and they watch all these like shows and they think it's like that, but it's no joke. Especially, and then to walk on is even like people just think it's some luxury and it's really not.
Yeah. So just I speak on walking on. So speaking on, like, when it comes to just walking on, it's like you have to do what the people on scholarship doing and then some, because it's only so many scholarships to go around. So at the end of that semester, when it's time for them to evaluate and figure out, are they going to give it to a freshman, or are they going to give it to this guy who's here doing the right things? You have to do all the right. That's why it comes back to what I'm saying. You have to do all the right things and then some, just to put yourself in position to even be considered to just have an opportunity like that. Like, I started for 2 years before I even got a scholarship. You know what I mean? Like, it was dudes who was behind me who had scholarships, and I'm the starter. But that just show you, you have to do all those things, correctly. And then junior college, like you said, like you look at Last Chance U, like it's dudes, like they have some junior colleges to where people are on meal plans and you get dormitories and stuff like that, like where I went to, it was you'd be lucky if your coach was good enough to buy you like a Little Caesars pizza. You know what I mean? Like, people have jobs, they go to school, like they got 10 people in a house, like it's real out there. It ain't all glitz and glamour like how they make it seem. Like, it is not like that, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another example that, reality TV is not a depiction of real life.
Yeah.
Especially like there's just so many kids and just even high schoolers, they're like, oh, like I kind of want to go JUCO because it seems fun. And it's like, I think if you want to chase your dream, then go JUCO, but I don't think you should do it just because it's fun. Like, I don't think that's a pleasurable experience. Ideal.
The best advice that I tell kids all the time who go JUCO is this: you going to JUCO to get out as fast as you can. You know what I mean? Like, you go in there, it's a business trip, like that's what it's all about. Like, when you get there, like, I want to take as many classes I can handle so I can get out and be eligible and have my eligibility so I can be gone. Like, I'm not here to play games with you, like, and if you go there and you want to lollygag, you'll be in JUCO a long time, and a coach will keep you there to be a good player, but you won't go nowhere. You'll just be a good player in JUCO. And when those coaches come around, they're going, yeah, he's good at football, but he don't handle his business in the classroom. And I'm telling you right now, coach not going to vouch for you. He's not going to put his name on the line because you want to be a mess up, and you don't want to handle your business, so.
So as far as schooling, because you've piled a lot on yourself as far as schooling goes. Mm-hmm. So how'd you balance it all? With work, classroom, football.
I just say, bro, it's just a want to. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta make those sacrifices. Like, I knew I wanted to go to college to play football, and I knew, like, this is the only way that is gonna happen. Like, some people think like, oh, like my situation at home. I'm not the type to deal with no type of excuses. Like, I don't want to hear no excuses about nobody's sad stories and no, like what. I'm not that type. I'm the type, like, I feel like if you want something, you man or woman, and you feel like this is what you want, like, go make it happen. Like, go make it happen, however you want to do it. Because I walked on 2 times to earn a scholarship. I went through junior college. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, if it's something to be done to get to a Division I level and a professional level, I have done it. It has not been, I earned my scholarship in my first year. I'm just chilling. I'm just cruising. It was not like that. Like, I took a whole senior workload and a junior workload. Like, I went through junior college where I took 22 credits in a semester 3 times. You know what I mean? So it's like, I have done it. I went from class from 7 a.m. to 3 o'clock, and then went from practice from 3 to 5, and then after practice, I'm doing all my homework and I'm going to bed and waking up doing it the next day. Like I had classes 5 days a week, so it's no excuse for me, when it comes to those type of things. Like if you want it, you're gonna make it happen. You as a person you're gonna make those decisions, and you're gonna find out really what's important to you. You know what I mean? You're gonna make those decisions yourself, and you're gonna go make it happen.
Yeah. So in this world that we're living in, there's a lot of celebrity boxing and stuff like that. Have you thought about boxing?
No, I haven't thought about no boxing, no, none of that. Like I'm venturing off into the business side of things. Like I said, I'm focused on the studio salons with me and my girlfriend, and we're making it happen. We signed a lease. We'll open up business in February. Like that's my main focus right now. Like I'm not thinking about nothing else.
What was the driving motive behind starting your business?
Well, my dad's an entrepreneur himself, so he always would tell me that when you're done with football, like this is what you're gonna have to come back to. Whether you leave it today, whether you get hurt today or tomorrow, like this is what you're gonna have to come back to. Like if you really want to support yourself and your upcoming family, like you have to venture off into this business world, and you had the opportunity to go into the NFL and meet all these people, like so you are already ahead of the curve as far as people giving you an opportunity, So I've always known that I want to get into the business world, it just so happened to be that way.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any other business plans that you like before you kick the bucket you want to do?
Yeah, it's always, I think in the world of business, there's always opportunities to make money. And I think for me, like I'm not gonna limit myself and say, oh, this is the only business that I'm gonna do. Like I want to do as much as I can do in my lifetime,
Mm-hmm.
and to try to set my, the next generation up, and I think a lot of people, especially people into sports and people into college, like take opportunities, to go venture off and take not entrepreneurships, but internships at different places, because it is like, it's life after sports, like it really is, like, and if you don't set yourself up for that, like when reality does hit, like it really messes, it takes a long time to come down mentally,
Yeah, I mean, I'm an entrepreneur myself, so I completely agree with everything you're saying. There's so many things. Like I got a whiteboard filled with stuff that I want to do. And so, it's honestly just finding the time to do it, because if you're, like you said, if you're going to do anything, you got to do it 100%. And Bruce Lee once said, I'm more fearful of a man who practices the same thing 1,000,000 times than a man who practices 100 things once.
Yeah.
And so, you gotta perfect your craft before you venture off to another one.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So that's why I always say, like, if you're gonna do something, just give it 110%. Just give it 110%, because you want to know that you put your best foot forward. Because when you walk away from it, or it doesn't go up to your plan, or you could say honestly, okay, like, because at the end of the day, you're gonna wake up and you're gonna look in the mirror, and then you're gonna have that conversation with yourself. You could blame it on this person in public. You could speak on that person in public, but at the end of the day, it's gonna be you and your thoughts, and you and yourself in front of that mirror. And then you gotta come to reality with yourself and say, okay, like I was bullshitting, or okay, I didn't give it all I had. Like you have to come to terms with yourself, and that's a hard conversation for a lot of people to have. It's me speaking from my experience.
Well, yeah, no. And I feel like if anybody's going to talk about hard times, I think, you're the most qualified as anybody's going to get, I mean, especially if you watch that documentary. I know a documentary doesn't cover every little detail, but you get the point across, and, that's 100% why I wanted to reach out to you. Cause I feel like your message is going to be 100% something that somebody's going to learn from and somebody needs to hear. And, I really, like your experience humbled me, and I didn't even go through it.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it, man. Well, it just when you, like, I was born in New Orleans, Louisiana, in the lower 9th Ward. So when you go from when you go from being in poverty there, oh, you're frozen for me. You're frozen for me. I can't see it.
Let's see. Yep. All right.
Yeah, no, but basically when you go from a situation of poverty where you look around yourself and you just look at a whole bunch of potential,
Right.
you know, because just potential is just something that, you know, it just ain't happened yet, you know, just so I look around, you know, when I was very young, like I looked at cousins, I looked at uncles, I looked at, you know, friends, I look at friends of friends, and I'm like, this dude could be in the league, you know, like this dude could do something with themselves, you know, and then I see him go off to prison, or I see like this don't happen, or I see him end up dead, you know, and then I end up in the woods in Mississippi with my grandma, you know, that's as humbling as it can get, you know, I'm in the woods in Boca Chica, Mississippi. Look it up, you know. Like I'm in the middle of the woods. It's me, my grandma, and my great grandma, you know. And you look around, you know, and you just see like is it? I want more for myself, you know. And then you get an opportunity. I go to Texas where football is like boom, you know. I'm like shit, like I wanna. I'm not gonna waste this opportunity, you know. I'm not gonna. I'm you know, because a lot of people don't get those opportunities, you know.
Do you ever miss the grind? Like the grind of, you know, JUCO football, or just the grind of D1 football? Do you ever miss the grind?
See, yeah, I think like you hear a lot of people say like really enjoy your process because like it flies by, you know, and I was so I'm a big goals person, you know, like I write my goals down, like what I'm doing today, what I'm doing for the month, what I'm doing for the year. Like I'm a big goals, like visionary type person, you know. And when I was in JUCO, like I used to write it down. Like, all right, this semester I'm taking this, I want this, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that, you know. And I was always trying to move on to the, you know, like the thing about goals, like it keep track of your progress, but you don't want to get lost and moving on to the next, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next without enjoying your process.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because before you know it, it's just memories and conversations. You know, like I'm not gonna say like it was enjoyable, you know, to continuously just like who wanna wake up at 6 a.m., go, you know, go to class all day, you know, go to practice, then you do all your homework, then you blank out and you gotta do it again. You know what I mean? Like it takes a certain kind of individual to want to do that. I mean, I do like love the grind and I do miss it, you know, but you try to replace that grind with a different type of grind. But yeah. I'm trying to learn to enjoy the process of the grind more. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, like if this is what you want to do, you want to interview people, you know, on a larger scale, you know, you're going to look back and you're going to be like, man, like I remember when I was doing it in my room, just, you know, just reaching out to people that, you know, like you're going to miss that, you know? So
right. Yeah.
Process. Enjoy your process. Really.
Yeah. I mean, the reason behind that question is I know like when I'm training, whether that's to go play Division III football like I am right now, or is it just getting in shape to possibly compete in a mixed martial arts fight, either one, like after it's all said and done, I'm like, man, I miss it. You know, I miss feeling exhausted after a workout. You know, I miss it. And I don't know, it's just I fall in love with the grind. It's just, and then it's like, you know, in the process, you're like, I hate it. You know, this sucks. But then you look back at it and you're like, dang, I miss it. I want to do it again.
But it's something for me, like when I'm training, like the reason I train so hard, because I don't feel like I don't want to leave nothing on the table. Like I try to put myself through hell. I always say I try to put myself through hell when I'm training. That way can't nobody hurt me.
Right.
You know, I'm like, I didn't give every bit that was in my tank, you know, so can't nobody make me feel no type of way about myself. So when I line up against me and it's you, like I know I put in the work. So I hope you did, you know, because I'm not gonna feel no petty for you, you know. So gotta love that grind, man. Obviously, man. Gotta love it.
Well, yeah, and when you're training, like when I train, I always just have this mindset of, I'm going to exhaust myself in training. I'm going to do whatever I can in training. So then whatever happens in the game is easy for me. It's the game should be easy. The practice should be hard. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You could look at it that way, but at the end of the day, yeah, like I definitely agree with you. You want to bust your ass during training. That way, the game is easier. I think the game gets a little easier. Based on your preparation. Like it's all about being prepared for those situations. Like you wanna put the time in the weight room. You want to put the time in the film room. You want to pay attention. To the extra film study that your coaches are giving you. Your little note sheets. Like you gotta take all that stuff into account. So.
Well, yeah, and I'm a quarterback, so it's like I can't leave a stone unturned, or I'm gonna, then the whole team's screwed. If the quarterback's not on the same page, then the whole team's screwed.
Yeah, definitely is. Yeah, that's a position that requires a lot of confidence and a lot of leadership, and people thrive off your presence. The whole team, whether it's offensively or defensively. You take a burden off a lot of people's shoulder. If you go out there and you confident and the team see it, then the defense is gonna be like, well, if I do make a mistake, then they'll be like, well, they'll go score. I'll take a risk because I feel like I'm confident enough that they're gonna go score. But if they look at you and they like, I don't know, then they probably won't take a risk. That could have turned the game.
Exactly. Yeah. So do you have, on that note, you played DB in college? Or even in training camp, what's one receiver or one quarterback that you're like, all right, I need to, slow my roll a little bit, because if I screw up, it's gonna be bad.
So I had a lot of opportunities to play like a lot of good quarterbacks, man. Like in my time being, but let me see, man. I literally remember. Man, okay, so I was in obviously I just had got the Green Bay. I got the Green Bay. Is when I knew like it's literally levels of things, right? So I got the Green Bay, and I was running scout team against the Green Bay Packers won. So that's like Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers, like the whole nine. And I remember I was in scout team, and D coordinator, he was like, okay, we're gonna play 2-man under, like just stay underneath. Like you can't pretty much touch them. You're mimicking them, but you're trying your hardest to just cover them. And so I remember like being in practice, and then Devontae Adams, he ran like a post out. I'm in 2-man under, like I don't know the route or whatever, but he like runs it. I'm underneath him, and I remember like he broke in, and I was underneath, and I looked inside, and I just felt like a wind just take off. And I looked, and he was way on the sideline. And then you just see this ball from Aaron Rodgers, just like beautiful. It's just like a beautiful touch. And I'm like, oh man, it is literally levels to this. It's just like little things like that. You just watch them practice. You watch these people practice, and you're like, okay, like it's like you see why they're that great on Sunday.
Yeah.
You really get to see those little things. Like and it's like he throw one of the best balls I've ever seen in person. I got the experience it for a week, so it's like I'm looking at it like, oh yeah, you see why he do this on Sunday. Like even when I was in Jacksonville, you get to be around like a Jalen Ramsey, and AJ Bouye. At the time, you look how they come in practice every day with a certain type of intention, and you just want to mimic that. Because you see why they so great, like it don't matter if it's period 1 team versus scouts, period 2 team versus team, like nobody trying to lose reps, like it's that competitive, and I come with that mindset anyway. But then you get to see these people who are accomplishing all these great things, and you like, oh, I understand why. Like when you look at it, you're like, okay, I understand why.
Well, yeah, and something I talked about this last week with a fighter, but it applies to football too. You have all these fans that'll jump on a player's ass for whatever it may be, a bad ball. Like this year, Big Ben is just getting slandered, or Baker Mayfield. And it's like what people don't realize is they may look like they're not the best, but they are better than, so many different people, most of the population.
Yeah, bro. People, until you play in front of somebody in a whole where everybody's watching you, until you play in a packed stadium where people's yelling at you and just looking down on you. Half the time, to be honest, those people, they don't care about what they talking about because they so locked in on the game. You know what I mean? Like they know, like it comes to their preparation, they prepare all week, Sunday to Sunday, so they're not really worried about what fans is talking about. And they know a fan can't go out there and take their job or do what they need to do,
Exactly,
like
yeah.
a little, when it's 3rd and 3, and then you got to throw this slant route, between the corner and the linebacker, and you got to place it there, or you got to make a 5-yard out pass, on a simple play like that, or you got to read the defense to see a simple cover 2 or a simple cover 3 or invert 2 or, things like that. Like a normal person not picking that out and not going to be able to process that in that time frame like that, so it just, so a fan, you should just stay a fan and enjoy it, but that's what they do, that's they thrive. That's what they get out of it. They like booing and cheering, and that's why you're a player and they're a fan, like
Exactly.
sometimes people don't understand certain things, and you
Exactly.
gotta just look at it like that,
Well, yeah. And I mean, just as quarterbacks, NFL quarterbacks, they're fitting it into a space this big.
Oh yeah, it
The
gets
ball is
sadder
this
and
big.
sadder. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's little room for error.
Oh yeah, very much so.
And that because you make their life
You
hell.
watching, you watching everything. Like as a DB and safety, we watching every little thing that a quarterback doing, from a simple hand signal, from a check to we watching, we waiting on that opportunity to where you doubt yourself a little bit, and then that guy gives the DB opportunity to make a play, So that's why you got to go out there with full confidence and know what you're doing so you can execute at the best level you can execute at.
Yeah. In college, what's the most feared you've ever been by a receiver? I wouldn't even say feared, because I doubt you fear people, but like what's like the most where, kind of like your Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers story, you got one for college?
I'm not really, but there was let me see, like I don't really feel like I've ever just feared a receiver, because I always felt like, it's just when you're a DB, like you gotta be, you're not gonna be like, oh yeah, like because then you can't play your game,
Right.
You can't play your game like that. I wasn't even scared when I was guarding him, but it was just the fact that you just learn that attention is in the details. Like when you're not supposed to look and you look, that's how fast it happened, on that level, like that's how little room for error it is.
It's a game of inches.
Yeah, for real, So when let me see, what I think the most threatened that I've ever felt was actually when we played Hawaii, right? We played Hawaii my senior year, and I believe we were winning going into halftime. And it wasn't by a receiver; it was by this it was a freshman quarterback. I guess he was a Hawaii native. He went to Kahuku or one of those schools out there. And then you just see this dude just come in the game, and he not really thinking about it. He just making plays. Like he throwing the ball, giving people chances, an opportunity. And that's the thing. Like when you see somebody come in with that confidence and that swagger, and they letting that ball rip, the QB, you like, oh man, like, because then the receivers, they start getting confidence, like, oh yeah, he gonna give it to me, like, because when a receiver feel like he got somebody beat, but then that quarterback in fear of that DB, that's how it goes around. You like you scared of that DB, you doubt yourself, then that receiver gonna start running hard. And then when you finally do get that opportunity, you think like you finna hit him, he not gonna be that confident, not gonna run that route that hard, and then the DB win that rep. You know what I mean? But yeah, we were playing Hawaii my junior year, and we actually lost because this young freshman quarterback come in with no fear, all the confidence in the world and just slinging the ball. Like, I'm like, oh man, he gonna throw this. Like, you gotta, then you start thinking about certain things because you like, he will throw the ball anywhere over the field. Like, he does not care, But yeah, I've never been just, I don't know, in fear of a DB, like, because I always felt like it's me and you. I've always maintained the same attitude, it's me and you. I'm better than you. At the end of the day, like, I just want you to know, like, I'm better than you. So,
I feel that.
You gotta just play the game. Yeah, you just gotta play the game that way. So
yeah, I mean, in your highlight tape that you posted on your Instagram, there was a few videos of you guarding Michael Pittman, number 6 USC.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He's a good receiver.
Yeah, he's the receiver. He plays for the Colts now. What was your, obviously there's clips in there of you getting the better of him. How was your overall experience with him?
He's he got all the, obviously, he's in the NFL. He's a starting receiver in the NFL. So he has all the requirements and criteria and the work ethic to obviously, be in the NFL. I felt like it was just, but that's how the game of football goes, like, and that's what people don't know, like that rep, I might have had, more reps, better reps than him, but on a different day, he could have got the better half of me, I was just one of those days where I felt like I won the matchup, and it just happened like that, it's just a matter of, when you got the ball in your hand as a receiver and I'm a DB, I'm gonna try to rip it out, and I just, I just had the opportunity to make certain plays that I felt like I made, But he's definitely a good receiver, he was a Pac-12 All-American and all type of stuff, great dude.
Yeah. So as a DB, you look at the quarterback, and do you know what he's doing when he, makes a check? Do you have a good idea what he's doing?
So I help you out. So for me, my junior year, like, because I just switched to DB, what made me have the opportunity to make certain plays on certain people or be in the right spot at the right time was my film study. Like, because I didn't have the proper footwork, so I knew I had to be real big on film study. And a lot of people don't even know how to study film, like that's a skill in itself. That's a skill in itself. Yes. So my DB coach at the time, David Lockwood, I spent numerous hours in the film room every single week, like with him, to learn how to do film. That way, when certain things come out, it's not even about the quarterback. Like, I see this formation, I see the situation. I'm like, okay, I'm thinking this, and this. So it's gonna be one of these, and that's how I play the game, and that's how everybody has to play the game. That way you put yourself in a position to make a better play,
So, so as far as motions go, when you see a motion, are you taught, well, not necessarily taught, but because as far as like the offense I like running and the offense I would be running, there's a lot of motions to kind of expose the defense, as in, if he's running with him, it's obviously a man coverage. You might have a zone on the backside and whatnot, but you're typically going to get a man coverage if the DB or they're running with him, the linebackers shift over and stuff like that. You're probably going to get a zone coverage. So as far as motions go, how does a motion alter your perspective on, do you still have a thought of what it's going to be, or is,
For me, a lot of, but you learn, obviously, like, when you get into formation, I mean, early in the season, like, you got to figure out what people doing. But at the end of the day, like, when the season get rolling, like people show their cards. So you're kind of going to know what to expect when you get this, because a lot of motion, like, for you is just to figure out what we in. And then for us, it's just eye candy, like, you trying to make this motion go this way so you can make something happen over here where the motion was, like, it's just eye candy for us, But I mean, they got certain defenses where it could be a zone, but they rotate, they motion with him, to throw off the QB. These defensive coordinators, they getting smarter and smarter,
Oh yeah.
He could go with him. The nickel could go with him if he in motion, and then the nickel will blitz, because he has no responsibility because it's his own,
Right.
It gets, you just learn though. You just learn with film study over time. But a lot of the time, motions is just we taught defensively. It's just eye candy,
Mhm.
That's just,
Well, just like, and just like offenses are evolving, 20 years ago, a quarterback throwing 40 times a game is kind of unheard of. That's like, wow, that's a lot.
right.
Now it's not unheard of, that's, kind of casual. Like, but as far as, so, defenses evolve and offenses evolve. And, there was just a lot to unpack as an offensive guy and as a defensive guy. But
Oh yeah, it's definitely the game is changing, before our eyes. Like even with the NFL, like people saying like a lot more passing, and you seeing like a lot more guys, like they want a lot more athletic guys, who can run in the end. Like people getting faster, people getting bigger, people getting stronger.
oh yeah,
It just goes back to what I'm saying anyway. Like you gotta you gotta give it all you have, because there are some guys out there who are freaks, like they're like 6'4", 6'3", 6'2". They wake up in the morning, stretch their legs and run 4.3, or jump 40 inches, or like bench press 225 40 times. Like you gotta put yourself in, and if you're not one of them freaks, like you gotta put yourself in the best position to make
exactly.
something happen.
Yeah.
You have to.
Well, yeah, and as a quarterback, I'm only 5'9", so I have to do every other thing right in order to even get a chance. Because I'm not one of those tall, lanky dudes that can just sit back there. Like I got to do everything right. My film study has to be right. My lifting has to be right. Everything else I have to be perfect, and everything else just to even get a chance.
Yeah, man, that's what I try to tell that to like a lot of young kids too, like if you just be real with yourself, like when you look yourself in the mirror and you come to reality to terms like, okay, I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't have this, but this is what I can do. As long as you
Exactly.
can wake up every day and control your attitude and your effort and take advantage of all the opportunities that you could take advantage of, and know you put your best foot forward in those, while taking those opportunities, it's all you can ask for, bro. It's all you can ask for, bro. Like I tell young kids all the time, if you're not a 4 and 5 star right now, you know what I mean? Like you gotta do everything right. You gotta do everything right just to don't just to
Yeah.
give yourself that opportunity, like just to give yourself a chance to be considered,
Yeah, I
what
mean
it is.
that's exactly it's the underdog mentality, really.
Man.
That you gotta always possess. And I feel like even if I was a 4 and 5 star and I had all these attributes, I would still kind of force myself to be like,
Yeah, they have kids who are 4 and 5 stars who bust their butt. I'm not taking anything away from them,
oh
but
yeah,
I'm talking about the guys who said you want to be, like you said, you're a 5'9" quarterback. Like you got to do everything right in order to give yourself opportunity. Like if you want to be running back and you 160 pounds, like you got to do everything right to give yourself an opportunity. If you are offensive lineman and you undersized, like you got to do everything right to give yourself an opportunity.
exactly.
You don't have room for error. You don't have that. You don't have those. You don't have that chance for somebody to look and go, he don't play hard. His grades is bad. His attitude's not right. His coach don't like the way he talking. Like you can't have that, because it's quick for somebody to turn their back on you, and turn the other cheek. If you're gonna give yourself opportunity, you got to do everything right.
Oh yeah, and especially more kids are born. You're not the only one.
Yeah.
And so you do one little thing wrong that the other dude is doing right, then he's gonna get that opportunity because he's doing it right and you're not.
Like it's like if you just want to be, and come to reality with yourself, like it's an NFL draft every year.
Exactly.
Literally an NFL draft every year. It's kids coming into college every single year. It's kids transferring schools in college every single year. And now with this transfer portal thing happening, it's just like now they're going to consider somebody who's actually been up in there, know how to work hard and just transferring. And then they're going to look at junior college. And then they're going to come look at a high school kid. You know what I mean? Because they don't even understand the process. So it's like now your chances are even less than what they were before, you know?
Right,
like,
yeah.
So it's like you got to do everything right just to give yourself an opportunity, a chance, you know, just to be considered, just for somebody to be like, okay, like I want to give this to this young 18-year-old kid who his coach is vouching for. I don't know if he really worked hard. I'm only going off somebody's word. Or I can give it to this 22-year-old grown man who may have a kid, who may have a family, who he trying to support, you know, by doing this football thing and understand like he got to come in every day and bust his butt. Like those are conversations that happen, you know, when you in the NFL and you trying to take somebody, you know, like you trying to take somebody's job, you know, that's people's job, you know, just to run down there on special teams, you know, like this. So when you trying to make a team, it's like you trying to take somebody's financial stability. You know, they may have a wife, they may have kids, they may have a mom they supporting, and you come in at 23, you know, no kids, no responsibility. You may have one kid, but it's just like you got to go up in there with a certain mentality to do everything right and give yourself an opportunity. Like it's not.
Well, yeah, and to even piggyback on that, it's like what I got told when I was just young, you know, because as a youngin, you know, you're you know, you think in your mind you're going to the NFL for sure. There's no other option. There's no option. You know, you're going to be the next big thing. But what a coach told me when I was in 8th grade, he told me, he was like, I get it. You think you're going to be all this, you know, I get it. But there's only one Tom Brady. There's only one of those guys, you know, not everyone's going to be, you're not going to do what he does, you know?
No, yeah. It's always one of those and one of these and this and that, you know, but you shouldn't aim to be, I mean, you can aim to do the things that these people do, but you have to, at the end of the day, like you hear about the stories of Tom Brady's and the Michael Jordans
Oh
and
yeah.
Tiger Woods and all these people, like they are athletically gifted as is, or they have, you know, but they bust they butt. Like they literally bust they butt day in and day freaking out, you know. So
Well, yeah, and Tom Brady, he's also a good example of not having the physical attributes and still being
yeah.
great. He is not fast, you know, and you know, especially as the game's evolving, we're starting to get to the point where we need the Russell Wilsons, the Kyler Murrays, the Lamar Jacksons that can get out and, you know, ad lib and make some plays, you know.
Yeah, but it just goes back to what you're saying about Bruce Lee, you know, like
Yeah,
it just goes back to
exactly.
that, you
It's
know.
that's
He's done
exactly.
it a million times, you know, like he understands how to process the defense. I don't know if you've seen his mic'd up, you know, what you know
Oh
how
yeah.
he told when he told Leonard Fournette, like, oh, it's cover two. Like he knew it
Yep.
that fast. Like that's how great you have to be at the game in order to be successful.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, no, I'm a huge Tom Brady fan. You know, I'm an ambassador for him, and you know, I'm as big a Tom Brady fan as it gets. And so when I saw that, I was like, okay, like yeah,
Yeah, it's real. It's levels to it, man. It's real life
it's
levels.
levels. And it just goes back to, you know, these guys are professionals at what they do. They
Yeah.
don't play games.
Yeah, that's how they support their family. You know, that's how, like, at the end of the day, that's how they support their family. That's how they make sure they put food in their kids' mouth, food in their wife's mouths. You know, keep a roof over their family head, support their mom, support their dad. Like it's guys out there who do that day in day out. Like that's their job. Like it's not just it's a it's a luxury to have the opportunity to be in NFL, you know, and then people think like, oh, you get catered to this way and that way and that way and this way, but you have to bust your butt, you know, to stay there. Like you have to put in the hours, you know, you have to put in that time just to maintain your job,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, even on Instagram, you know, you always see that picture with like all the percentages of, you know, high school football to college football to professional football to under 3 years in the NFL to over 5 years to 10 years, you know, and as you see, it progressively goes down and down and down and down and down. And, you know, and just look at, you know, how many first round busts there are every year. You know, people who, you know, think they're going to be great and they don't put in the work, you know, or they're not, you know, they're lacking somewhere, and then somebody else takes their job, and it's the first round pick, and then the fourth round pick ends up working harder, doing whatever he has to do. The first round pick, well, I'm pick number 22. I don't got to do anything, I'm slacking off.
Yeah, they're obviously if they draft you in the first round and they pay you that amount of money, they're gonna give you the opportunity to make plays. But when your opportunity come, because they paid you that amount of money, they have a certain expectation on what you need to be doing.
Yeah.
And if you don't uphold that expectation, your opportunities will run thin because it is another draft that is going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
So.
And you also, and it's not just on the field circumstances that you got to account for. It's off the field. You can't be acting cool off the field, because then, that also translates.
Yeah, man. They want to, like you said, it's like people want to know what type of person they supporting, like people want to know, like, are you as good as a guy, to your head coach as you are to the janitor, as you are to the person who taping your ankles, or just your person who's doing the film, like what type of person really are you, because like when you're a guy trying to get an opportunity in the NFL, if you're not that big time guy, like you have to have people who go up in there when them doors close and all the coaches have these conversations. Like somebody got to fight for you. They got to vouch for you. Like they, so you got to treat people right. Like you have to do those things. That's so when they close them doors, they like, I like this dude. Like I don't know what y'all not seeing him, but I'm willing to fight for this dude. I'm willing to put my job on the line, for this person. This is how it has to happen. Even when you go in college, they do the same thing. They do the same thing. They got to fight for you the same way. They had these same meetings in high school, like, but some people, they get opportunities because they're more athletic than people, but at the end of the day, when you go from high school to college, everybody in college the best where they come from. Everybody the best where they come from. So y'all all on even terms at that point. Y'all all athletic enough and this enough. They may have somebody who just that freak that's just beyond whatever, but shit. And then when you go to the NFL, y'all was the best players in the country, pretty much, So it's like
in the world.
So it's like,
yeah,
you got to do those things right, man.
So if you could give one piece of advice to an upcoming athlete, or even just one piece of advice to anybody, they're like, Jock, I need some advice about just one piece that's going to serve me good in life. What would your advice be?
A lot of good advice you can give people, but I would just say, goes back to what I said earlier, man. I think when you're going to do something, just make sure you do it 110%, and make sure you're able to be honest with yourself about giving that 110%. It's just like a domino effect, because if you don't give yourself 110% and give those around you 110%, if things don't work out for you, you're going to have certain regrets. And it's hard to live life when you living in regret, because you could have did one more sprint, or you cut one rep short in the weight room, or you didn't study for a test that you could have passed, or you didn't do this and didn't do that. Then you start blaming this person and blaming that person. Like don't put yourself in a position to go, oh, I didn't give 110%. Make sure you give yourself 110% and give those around you 110% every day. That way you don't have no excuses. That way you don't have no regrets. So if things don't work out for you, like that you gave it your all. The best way I can put it.
That's probably that's the great advice. That's probably some of the best advice I've ever heard. But we'll go ahead and wrap this up. I know you're probably a busy man. So I just want to thank you. Thank you for your time. I hope to have you on soon.
Just hit me up whenever, man. I'll be available for you, bro. We'll
So
make it
much.
happen eventually.
And when I'm back in Vegas, I would love to, link up, maybe train, do whatever.
Yeah, just let me know, bro.
All right. Thank you again. And yeah, I mean, we'll stay in touch.
Nah, bro, I appreciate you, just
No
having me on
problem.
here. Want to hear my voice, it's a million other voices you could have heard, bro. I appreciate you, man, just for reaching out and just giving me the opportunity to speak with you and speak to
Oh,
your
yeah.
audience, and
My pleasure, man.
maybe just give somebody a gem that they could have one day, just
Right.
from
Yeah.
my young life experiences.
Yeah. Well, I know I learned a lot. And so I really thank you for that as well.
Yeah, man, it's all good.
All right. We'll stay in touch. Peace out.
All right, bro. Peace out.